you so much for being here. I'm still, as you know, new to these videos, so everything I do feels like it's still very fresh and new, but I'm working my way through it, and I'm trying to figure out the sound. There's definitely an echo in this room, and I'm afraid that this could be painfully loud, so I'm trying to talk in a really low voice, which isn't easy for me. Okay, so we have a picture with 4 eyes, and the point is that you just look at this picture, these 4 pictures, you pick one that just kind of speaks to you, and then something about the caption should resonate with you as well. And I'll do a reading for each one, and we'll just try to figure out where you stand in that reading, what makes sense for you. So the first one is like an older, I don't know, it reminds me of like an Egyptian eye. I may be wrong there, but I don't know why the word that came to me was passage. Like there's something you'd almost have to believe in to like experience whatever this eye can bring you. But I do think eyes are, they are, so we're told, the windows of the soul, and in so many ways they are. Even if you look people in the eye and you don't think of that consciously, I think there is like a subconscious when you look people in the eye. And yeah, let's see what these kind of wild eyes bring out in you. So this is your wild side, and this is what people see when they look in your eyes. Like, what is something, if your eyes are a window to your soul, what are people seeing when they look at you? And so if you picked passage, this is that first picture. Let's go ahead and read for that. Let's get an idea of who you are. Okay, so kind of a heavy first line. The Star is a beautiful card. The Devil's a tricky card, and then the 5 of Pentacles is also one that makes me think that there's, there are better cards that could be drawn. Looking at this first line, taking a snapshot of you, I could say you have some demons. I think that would absolutely track. I could say there's a part of you that's also very spiritual. I think you have like an internal compass, so to speak, but I also think there's something raw in you that is, there are temptations, there are urges, there are, I think, things that you succumb to at times that are, I don't want to say bad, but maybe not ideal. And then with the 5 of Pentacles, that's a card of like, there is pain, there is a bit of suffering in this card. There's something to make me think that you've had some bad luck. There's just, this card, from this line, I could deduct that you are either quite spiritual now, that maybe you've had some demons. You've been a person who has succumbed to demons. You've had some pretty bad luck and a hard go of it as a result of that. And now you are really trying to do the right thing. You really are looking within. You're trying to follow this kind of spiritual path. And spiritual doesn't mean that this could be your first time looking into tarot. It doesn't mean that you're always doing tarot, or that you are like reading about metaphysical things every night. It doesn't mean you're religious. It just means that somewhere within you, you're looking to do the right thing. There's an internal compass. There's a guide within you that is really you're actively trying to point yourself in the right direction. And that to me is very, that's a beautiful thing. That's a good thing. And I understand how that can arise from having a tough go of it. So without digging in too deep as to like what this Devil card could really represent, because it can represent succumbing to temptations, it can represent addictions, it can represent like a mental illness, whatever it is, it's something that probably got the better of you, that you really were conscious of and aware of and didn't want in your life, and I think it did lead to some pretty nasty things, and now you're on this path. But this definitely paints a picture of someone who is raw. There's, we're going to pull up some other lines here and get a better picture, but I think something in this first line probably does speak to you. So let's get another snapshot of who you are, further detail who you are. That's my cat in the background. Okay. A little bit better. This is more of a line to tell me, I feel like you've corrected your ways. You know what you want. You are very aware that there's a future that you have your eye on. You are focused, you're determined. I think you try very hard to be a good person. I think you try to do and say the right thing. I think that although the spiritual piece is still with you, I think for you work and working hard and probably being successful in work is like a form of your own thing that motivates you. It's your own, it can reset you. It can make you feel good, accomplished, like purposeful. So I think that's what I see in the Knight of Pentacles. And then the Chariot there is a drive there. The Chariot's a card that I feel like they can be driven by good, bad, or otherwise. I feel like the Chariot can be on a path where sometimes they don't even know necessarily the path they're on. But it's still like when I think of the Chariot, I think of momentum. So you are looking at this next line, you are successful. Whatever is up here, you've overcome it, and you've worked really hard, I think. And I think it's something you work at and you drive yourself towards every day. I think you work hard to not only do the right thing, but to stay on this path, to keep this momentum. I think you're building your career. I don't think you're wildly successful yet, but I definitely think there is a force behind you that you have worked very hard to get where you are. But I do think when someone looks at you in the eye, someone who cares about you and sees you, I think they see this first line. I think they see that there is something in your past that was hard on you. And now you are taking path. It's not that you're working to correct it. You're just working to counteract it. You're working to not let whatever happened up here ever enter its way into your life again. So that would be you. This is sort of where you are now, but let's speak more to why you picked the red eye that looks like it's written in clay, and it says passage. So let's get relationships, romantically speaking, relationshiply, it's not a word, but let's get a line about where you are, maybe romantically right now. And for this, we've got the, so if I look at this, I think you're either pretty good at being alone, or you are in a relationship that is very nice and pleasant and possibly ho-hum, as in not terribly exciting, but not bad in any way either. And that might work for you. Maybe terribly exciting is like a trigger, maybe something that's too chaotic or dramatic really actually just causes you stress and causes maybe bad behavior. I'm not sure, but I do feel like there is something that is there's something quite calm about you. There is still, to me, an inner struggle. I think that's always going to be there. And I think that whatever your demons were up here, I do think you've completely suppressed them. However, you work very hard to do this. And when I see the hangman card, there's a word that people apply to this. It's being a martyr. It's almost like the extreme of taking one for the team. And I do feel like you probably sacrifice a lot in the name of, like, if you were to do this, it could trigger you and it could maybe upset the people you love, or it could cause you to not even trigger like with an addiction, but it might just cause you to fall into bad habits or old ways. And old ways could be like, maybe you were someone who just couldn't stay in a job, and you would have a job for a few months and you'd leave it, and then you'd go to another job and you'd leave it, and as a result, doing that long enough could really cause problems and be really problematic in your relationships or your family life, or the people who love you, it might stress out. I mean, that's just one example, but I do think that in order to be this person who's so much more the star, that you do sacrifice a lot, and it probably does leave you wanting a lot more. It probably does leave you craving excitement. You're definitely finding happiness in simple things, which to me is funny because I don't think you were always this person, but you are now. And I think this is sweet. This is positive. I think this shows growth. This shows us evolving. This shows us just maturing. And although it is somewhat dull when you talk about it, in reality, it's actually a beautiful thing. And this is the picture, I think, of someone that can like sit and read a book by a window and be really happy doing that. And we all have this in us, and I think it's a really beautiful thing when it comes up. And there's an aspect here too of like kind of sharing in this quiet space. You might now be someone that people can be more quiet and tame around, and that's a nice thing. I'm not seeing how passage comes into this, but we absolutely will. It always shows up at some point in the last 2 rounds. But there's a struggle for you. There's still this internal battle, and I feel like you are almost always faced with an awareness that your life is, I think that it's a little different. When people look you in the eye, I think they see, there's like a whole story there. I think by passage, it can make me feel like maybe there's this almost like this rite of passage. Like people really have to get to know you. If they're going to get to know you at all, they have to really understand all of you, because there is quite a story there. There's some complexities. And although we have this, like I said, this almost like clay drawing on stone and clay, or a stick on a stone or something, I don't know, but it does make me think that there is more to it. There's this picture is interesting for a reason. There's a whole backstory. There's a whole other world behind it, and that is you. And it is funny because, like I said, there is something about you that is, and I really don't want to say dull, but I feel like you almost have to be that way. There's a part of you that has to have this quiet, toned down, the opposite of lit up sense to you, because that's your safe place, and probably your happy place now too, and that's great. Let's get some more about you. Oh, but this last line, actually, I gave it about the relationship, so totally forgot about that. So I do think in relationships right now, yes, I think there is a quiet aspect to what, if you are in a relationship, that would describe the current relationship, or if you're not, I think this is what you either seek or this would describe relationships. There's a stillness to them. There's a kindness, a gentleness, whether or not it's entirely sincere, I don't know, or whether or not it's like I said, it's you being a martyr, knowing like you have to be this way or else. But yes, there's an unrest there to me. It creates, I think, a battle within you that makes you think like, is this really me? And yes, I do think it is really you. I don't think it's a bad thing. Let's get some more cards and figure out maybe how we can offset this struggle without bringing back anything that would be problematic, but maybe how can we help with this, and ultimately help with relationships? How can we maybe give you more, I don't want to say confidence, but help you be more dynamic without the fear that something might result of it, if that is at all a struggle, a piece for you. Okay. And again, we've got to get to passage and why we're talking about passage. But passage is like, it's almost like a doorway. It's like something you pass through. There's like a before and an after. There's like, this is a snapshot of who we were, and this is a snapshot of who you are now. And whoever, I think, really gets to know you and can like look you in the eye, I think they do see all this. So let's in regards to this whole thing, and then this last line I'm going to say about relationships, let me get something that, what are you actually insecure about? In regards to relationships, what are you insecure about? And then we'll get more into like a rawness. So we've got two pentacles here, and then we have a little bit of strife. So about being, I think you work hard. I think you're focused on work. I think you are determined. I think you're successful. I don't know that you're wildly successful in what you do. And again, almost with every card that we pull up, there's an element of struggle. Like, I think that maybe you like your job and you work hard, or maybe you think about something else you want to do, but then you kind of always have a battle. Like, should I do this? Can I do this? If I do this, will it be good? Will it be bad? Will it hurt me? Will it benefit me? And this struggle card for me, that's always a theme. Like, I think you want to be more dynamic, more exciting, excitable even, but I think you're afraid of what it will bring out in you. And I'm not here to say that it will or won't bring something out in you, or that you should or shouldn't change this. It's really not what this reading is. This reading is like, what do the people that are close to you, your partner, your closest people, what do they see when they look in your eyes? Like, what is something that they can just take from a glance, just a glance at you, or a deep stare into your eye? But I'm getting an idea of who you are. Okay, let's see, what do people feel when they look, the people that you know, the person you're thinking about right now, whether it's one or three people, what do they think? What do they feel when they look you in the eye? And this has more, for me, there is more excitement here. This is a lot of excitement, actually. This is like, and however I want to break this up, the Seven of Cups is like, there's nothing boring or dull about this card. This card it's part magic, it's part fantasies, it's part dreamland, it's part like wishes, it's like it's a funny card. It's good, bad, and otherwise. It's everything you want and everything you don't want, everything that could be and everything that has been. So this card is kind of like endless possibilities to me. Like, I feel like people see you as being someone who really is capable of almost anything. I think people see a lot of power and strength in you. I think they see a lot of everything from self-control to the fact that you could just lose it at any time. This is like, this card makes me think of like everything from someone who's just tripping on acid and sees everything and sees their future and their past and everything they want and don't want. It reminds me of like a genie that comes out of a lamp. There's just this endless possibilities. Anything can happen. And this card, for this, I'm going to interpret it positively, that when people look at you, there's almost this magic. And I think people see that there's so much more that could be. And I don't mean could be in a way like could be as in should be. I mean could be as in like you've got a story to tell. And your story probably has, like I said, a lot to do with self-control. I think it has a lot to do with you being very much almost like curating this life you have, which is a perfectly fine thing. Everyone does that to an extent. I think you do it very well. And I think you know exactly what you can handle and what you can't. And I think as a result of this, you're also very good at sizing other people up. I think when people look at you, actually, I think that they know that you almost see them. And this actually could be a very interesting segue here. And I'm almost I think because of who you are, how much you pull back, taper back, observe, I think people know that you see them. As much as you see yourself and understand yourself, I think that you are someone, when someone looks you in the eye, they're like, oh geez, like they really see me. They know they can call me on my bullshit. They know if I'm sincere, they know if I'm honest, they know. I just think you have that kind of ability. And with passage, I almost feel like it's this like rite of passage, or this opportunity, this window that people see when they look you in your eye. Like, you are just kind of all knowing. And I do think that's really cool. I don't know if this is going to come up in any of the other readings, but yeah. And these last two cards here is like, for me, the King of Wands is it's like the pinnacle of knowing yourself, of knowing what you want, knowing what makes you happy, knowing what you have to do to just to be the best you can be. There's almost like a vision to this card. This is a card that makes me think like you are, like this almost all-seeing ability here. And maybe with this, there is an element of like that spiritual, maybe you are a little bit like clairvoyant. Maybe you do, whatever you've been through, it's given you this level of insight, this ability to really see things, size up people and situations. And I think whoever gets to know you knows that you have this. This is a card of like coming together, working together. But I do feel like you are the person on the bench. You're the person who's just one step above in regards to like, you have just a little more knowledge, a little more insight, a little bit more to share. People look to you for the information. I think that you are more of the all-knowing one when you're in a group, and that is kind of like a passage. Like, they look at you and they just want to know some things. They want the answers. They want to know why you are the way you are, but how are you controlling yourself? How are you getting to live the life that you're living with such eloquence and such control and really truly passion, but I think you make it look easy, and I don't think it is easy, but I do think you have an incredible grasp and grip on who you are, and I don't see in any way that you're unhappy. I think you're doing everything right. I think that if you ever think for a moment that maybe things are dull or unexciting, or maybe even like lack of glamorous element to them, I don't think other people see this when they look at you. And I think this line here makes me think like, if this is how they see you, it's exciting. There is a mystical element to you that I think people want to get to know and want to understand. And so for passage, well, and the title is Your Wild Side, Raw and Untamed. And I like that because it's just that stripped down part of you. So, okay, the person, let's do one more line here. And I want it to be like the person that or let's just say when you're in a relationship, whether you are right now or not, or if you're going to be, but like, if you're in a relationship, what is that person, what do they want you to know? That they probably can't really put with a word. What do they want you to know? And for this, we'll do, I'm going to say they want you to know that they not only find you beautiful, but they find you exciting. They find you like alluring. They find you not only like glamorous, but there is an element of, I think there's almost like they're envious of you in a way. I think they're envious of your, and I've said self-control, but the way you carry yourself, I think there's a grace to you that is rare. I do think you handle and conduct yourself in a way that is truly just rare and beautiful and unique and special. And with that, with the King of Wands here, which is just speaks to your passion and your ability to make things happen, to form and curate the life you want. I do think you have a swiftness. You're very swift of thought. You're very strong. in your mind. You absolutely know yourself. I think you are truthful, you're honest, and I do think that that is like, I mean, this is beautiful, it's sexy, it's appealing, it's really wonderful. And then with the Two of Wands, I mean, the early wand cards they're lovely. They're like, they're just positive. There's a balance. There's a choice. But I do think that people, if I take choice into this, I think they want you to know, like, I know every day you make a choice. I know you choose to be this person. I know that you are actively kind of like sizing up the situation, looking into the future, and choosing to be the person you are. And I think people find that incredibly alluring. But there is something, even though it sounds so controlled, there is something wild about that. You know, it's like you're a survivor. You have these like animal instincts. You know exactly what you have to do to survive. And I think there is a very like almost cutthroat, I don't want to say no fucks, but I think when it comes to you, like, you know exactly what you have to do, and you will always take care of yourself. I think you want to take care of other people and see them happy. You don't want anyone to be in any pain or element of suffering, but you will put yourself first. And I love that. Yeah, so this reading, I mean, it's passage, if this is something that speaks to you, and if you feel like this is a reading that you get, then I really hope you find it not dull or boring, because you are not those things. You're controlled. There's so much about you that I want to be. And there's a lot of this in everyone, but you take it to the next level in a way that is, I think people are just almost in awe of it. But yeah, you've earned your rite of passage. You've gotten to where you are through hard work, and you've almost like transcended into this next kind of level of like, it's self-control, but in a beautiful, dynamic, exciting way. So you are all those things. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this. Please, if you do, I would love to hear about it one way or the other. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. I just can't thank you enough. Thank you. Bye. Hello, thank you so much for being here. This is Light and Bone Tarot, and I am doing a reading on what people see when they look you in the eye. I'm calling it your wild side, sort of raw and untamed. And I don't know if that's going to really track through the reading, but it just made me think of like, eyes are they are wild, especially when you see like just one eye at a time. You just think like, oh, like I don't know, because we usually see two eyes at once. So something about one eye is like extra insightful, or it makes you just focus on it all the more. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I mean, I'll probably say this in every picture preface, but yes, I think the eyes are the windows to the soul. I think when you look at them, look people in the eye, especially if it's someone you know, you really do, you feel something. And even if you don't feel it in that minute or moment, I think you can like flash back to that thought of when you were looking them in the eye, and you can think like, ooh, I think that's what they were feeling or thinking at that time. Like, I know I have those memories. Like, I have memories of looking people in the eye and being like, oh, I think that's what they were feeling then. Like, I didn't know it at the time, but I think they were scared, or they were nervous, or whatever. So yes, this picture that you've selected is a really, really pretty picture of a woman's green eye. It's beautiful. And the caption is wild. And I picked wild for this. It was just the first word that came to mind, because it's so, I don't know, it just seemed like one eyes. There's something wild about it. It just makes you think of like an eye through a telescope, or like hunting or being hunted. There's just something so raw about it. So yeah, we'll see what comes up. And my captions my blurb that I assign to these readings don't always track perfectly. I think wild will track, but as far as like your wild side, raw and untamed, I mean, you know, we'll see. I don't know. I don't even know if I'll keep that, but it is wild, and we are all wild and untamed in some ways. So I like to do the first line to get I call it like a snapshot of you and where you're at and who you are and how all this can unfold into a story. So let's get an idea of who you are currently. And I'm not doing upside down meanings or readings for this, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so we have two good cards and one pretty heavy card. I'll go with the heavy card first, which is the Eight of Cups. This is leaving. This is leaving something behind. It makes you think of like moving on. Emotionally speaking, there's something that you have moved on from, and we all really have. This denotes like something heavier, more memorable, something that you probably had to something that was probably hard to walk away from, because what you're walking away from here in the foreground are these balanced cups, and it almost makes you think like, well, who would walk away from this? Like, why would you do that? And we've got, the moon and the sun essentially, like this all-seeing kind of power. But whoever this is in a red cloak has decided to leave. And I think for you, cards, what I'm getting, I think that you, is something like, this is like, I'm trying to think, like, did you leave? I don't know, I really don't pick children out of this card. I pick something else out of this card usually, but I'm not even going to mention it. But there's something to me about like a loss of like youth or innocence. There's something, I don't know, like having to, I don't want to make this too heavy, I guess is what I'm saying, but I'm feeling like there's like you left, maybe like you left your childhood early, you grew up very fast, maybe that's it, maybe I'm getting in a nice way of saying it, that you had to grow up fast, or you did grow up fast. And I think that, I don't know, I think you are definitely a free spirit. I think you are creative. I think you are quick to get excited. You're excitable. I definitely see this. Yeah, I think there's something flighty about you, but that's not bad. I use these words I feel like when I read tarot, my vocabulary just becomes so limited, and I'm not sure why. I really have to work on that. But I do feel like you're someone to inspire. You get bouts of inspiration, but I don't know that you see everything through. Like there's almost this like high and low aspect to you at times, but I mean, we all have that, so it's not anything extreme. But I do think that I think this might be a result of something in childhood or growing up too quickly. So yeah, that's a heavy first line. And the last one we did was like a heavy first line. And oddly enough, it did have to do with like who someone was back when. And I think this is more of a you back when, or a situation that would have described something that happened to you a long time ago. I think you are still the Ace of Wands, although you may have matured onto more stable ways of being. We will see. So let's get another line to see who you are. And okay, so with Judgment, King of Cups, Four of Pentacles, I think you are constantly sizing yourself up. I think you are very much in tune with who you are, who you want to be. I think that you probably are your toughest critic, but I also think like you are, sometimes I try to find the words, I'll come back to this, but as far as the King of Cups goes, you are in control of your feelings. I mean, we've got you right below the Eight of Cups who's leaving, and now you're back as the King of Cups. So you are definitely, you're not leaving anymore. Like you are staying, as far as emotions go, you are sticking things out. You are a fantastic communicator. I think you're very much in tune with yourself emotionally. I don't think you're on this like emotional roller coaster of highs and lows anymore. I think you're pretty freaking balanced and in check. And this card would definitely denote that you are quite grounded. I think you have levels of success, maybe not tremendous success, but I definitely think you are doing well. I think you are, you're not crazy with your spending. I don't think you're over the top with your habits. I think you try to maintain a very balanced life. And maybe there was unrest or the opposite of balance in your life when you were younger. And as a result of it now, you really do try to live this very good, almost simple, almost little room for error kind of life. And I like that. I like that for you because I think it absolutely works. And I mean, the Judgment card just tells me that you're in control. You know what you're doing. You work very hard to be the person you are. And I love that if you're the King of Cups. I think the King of Cups is an exciting person and just wonderful to talk to, wonderful to date, wonderful to be in a relationship with, and wonderful for so many reasons, not just because they're like so nice and wonderful, but they're interesting. They're great communicators. They're great. There's someone you could like sit down and have a glass of wine with, and they would just like win you over. The King of Cups is a strong, dynamic, interesting, alluring person, and it seems like you really are that person now. As far as wild goes, I think you've seen a lot of wild things that I get the impression you don't want to go back to, because I don't think at all that that's the life you're living now. I think you are living a life very opposite of either the life your parents led or the life that was shown to you at a younger age. So yeah, that's that. Now let's look at relationships. Let's see like a snapshot of either your current relationship or maybe your last relationship. And then we'll try to figure out why you picked wild. And I do like when we see more than one of the same, like a king, a queen, a page, or a knight, because it reinforces it. And for this relationship speaking, I mean, you get to be the King of Swords. Being the King of Swords is you're a communicator, and you are, even though you are in charge of your emotions, you are not overly emotional, you're not silly, you're not, you're fun, you're interesting, you're caring, you're charismatic, you're very charismatic, but there's an element of no nonsense to you, and you really are in control. You're controlled, and there is something just so sexy about that. And I think the wild side of that is like when someone is so controlled and so, it's like a lion. Like a lion's wild, but they are calculating. They know everything they're doing. They know their next move. They know, and I think that's almost the wild aspect to you. It's not that you're like the wild person at the party. I think there's something like so like it's like if you just watch any predator is, they have that look in their eye, like they know what they're doing. They're sizing you up, they're sizing up the situation, they've seen it before, they know what to do, they know the outcome, and I kind of get that about you. There is and I don't want to say predator because that could be negative, but there's something about you where you are, you're very aware of people's moves, past, present, future, you name it. And just as though you are, I think and this would go with Judgment, I think that you are always your internal voice. You are there to keep yourself on the right path. You're there to like monitor your own internal compass. You are very much there to like be aligned with, just to align yourself with what you want and what you think is important. And that is a very important thing. But Justice to me is another card where there's an element of like fairness. There's an element of like cause and effect. And I do think you have a very interesting way of keeping your own checks and balances. And I'm going to go back to like the cause and effect, or that fairness aspect, because I think of like, the lion on the Serengeti, they're not going to kill more than they need to kill. They're going to kill enough to eat and feed their family or feed themselves. Like there is absolute sense of checks and balances. There is like this unwritten guidebook that they all subscribe to and understand and are taught and teach their offspring. And there's like this set of rules that works, and I do feel like you are kind of playing by those. And that is wild. That is, I mean, that's raw, that's animal, that's very, very fascinating. And I do think people absolutely see this when they look at you. And then for the 9 of Wands, there's a resilience to you. And this would date back, I think, to whatever you've been through when you were younger that was left you feeling probably a little chaotic, a little hasty, a little possibly out of control, which led you to this sense, this desire to be so in control. I do think that you are resilient. I think you are someone who does surround yourself with people. I don't think you're a hermit. I don't think you're all alone, cooped up, staring at your computer all day. I think you're social, and that really speaks to the King of Cups and the King of Swords. Like, there is that interaction. You are heavily interacting. You're pushing yourself mentally and physically. And I just think that you're strong, and you definitely you interact well with others. You rely on others. You know when to team up. You know when to hunt together. I mean, again, like, it's all going to come back to this lion instinct, but I think you know exactly when you need to tap into your pride, essentially, your group, your people, your crew. Like, I definitely think you have that, and I think they have a lot of respect for you. I think they've got your back, and vice versa. So there is that animalistic side to you, which I like. Anyone likes this. I like this reading. And let's do a little bit more. It's always fun to bring it back to something with romance, but let me okay, so when someone you like romantically looks you in the eye, let's see what they're getting. Like, what do they see? What kind of hits them? And I mean, these are people who know you. This is, let's say, someone you're in a relationship with, someone you have been in a relationship with. Like, what are they getting from you? And I say when they look you in the eye because I'm just picturing of a moment where you're like, where you're connecting with someone. And yeah, there's a lot of passion in this line. The Queen of Swords, I like her. She's one of my favorite people. You've got the King of Swords, which would be like, the pinnacle of, I think, like, thought and not only sharpness of mind, but like that control of vision of how you would like form this life you want through mind control. I mean, to me that goes back to like meditation and mantras and manifestation. Like that to me is the King of Swords. Like, they can make anything happen if they just know and believe and think on it and meditate on it. It's a control. To an extreme. Whereas the Queen of Swords, to me, she's just one step below that, where I think she definitely has this like astuteness to her, but I don't think she's trying so hard to like create this world, this maybe even this abundance or this like manifestation of swords. But yeah, the Queen of Swords, she's fierce. I think she's fair. I think she's very interested in what people have to say. I think she wants to get to know other people. There's something lovely and feminine and caring about her, but also no one you would mess with, no one you would cross. And I know I would want someone to see the Queen of Swords in me when they got to know me and looked at me like, how do people see you? The Ten of Pentacles, beautiful card. I love tens. They're kind of the extreme in a good way. And for the Ten of Pentacles, it's like you have created this really beautiful world. If you were ever flighty or hasty, even if you are, which the Knight of Swords would definitely denote or paint a picture for me, you've made it work for you. You've absolutely made it work for you. You are stable. You are grounded. You're stable. You have the things you want. You've worked hard for them. You've stuck it out. I mean, this is definitely a card of someone who has rode out the storms and definitely came out shining on the other side. So I really, I think people see you as very capable, just very capable. And then the Knight of Swords, this reminds me that you still have this side of you, and this is fun because you can't just be this like incredibly sharp, astute, perfectly balanced person of mind and emotion. Like, you still have this fire in you. I think you have a temper. I think you can be quick to love or hate something. I think you can be fiery in regards to like, yeah, there's a temper there. You might say things you regret. I don't think you're mean or spiteful. I don't think you have a nasty side to you. But I do think there is that, just that almost like a little angst that just comes through. It's just one of those things, like, it's something your friends love about you. It's not even something they love to hate about you. It's like, oh, I really do love that about her. Like, it might drive them crazy or, really annoy them, but like, it doesn't even annoy them. They really do like it. It's your fiery side. It's your past. But yeah, I think the people you date or whomever you're involved with, I think they see this in you, and this is a beautiful combination. It's a little bit of everything here. And it is wild. I mean, we go back to like, and this is like, there's such a lion theme here to me. Like, this should be a lion's eye, because this is exactly, I just think of like everything a lion would have to do to survive, to just everything they do every minute of every day, when they're going to drink water, when they're going to rest, when they're going to look after their cubs, when they're going to hunt, like, everything is so planned, but without actually planning it. But they're never really just silly, but yet they are. Like, you still see them playing, you still see them enjoying themselves, you still see them rolling around in the dirt, and you see them, losing their temper, but in a way where you're like, oh, it's so funny. They're just, it's what lions do. So we could almost take out the picture of this beautiful woman and just replace it with a lion's eye, because I think that would be more accurate. I'm not going to do that, but just that's what I get. It's wild, and you're tamed though. I mean, you're raw, but you are tamed. You've tamed yourself. No one has tamed you. You've tamed yourself. You're exactly where you want to be. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't too fast. I hope it gave you a pretty good feeling. It just left you feeling good of like, if you picked that eye, that's why. And anything you want to say or comment, please do. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. So this is Light and Bone Tarot. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the third picture of an owl's eye, and I've given it the word pure. I don't know why I gave it the word pure. I think animals are pure and perfect, so I guess because it was an animal, I gave it the word pure. But we'll see. I think the last two readings did track pretty well and give an idea of why you picked this picture and this word, because eyes they're a little bit of everything. They're a little, they're a little creepy. They're a little strange. They're a little like icky. They can make you feel uncomfortable. They can make you feel happy. They can make you feel like anything. Like, and just looking at someone in the eye it's a whole thing. Like, sometimes you feel better after doing that, and sometimes you just feel like you just were like accosted or something, and all you did was like make eye contact with strangers. So there's a lot in the eyes, and they are quite possibly the windows of the soul. I do feel that like I just said, when I look at people in the eye, I'm like, whew, you take something away from it. But if you picked the owl eye, which is, I think, probably the one I would have picked, just because I love owls, and this eye is so perfect. It looks like a marble, but I don't think it's a marble. I think it really is the picture. It's like actually the owl's eye. But yeah, I just like that picture. I think it's really beautiful and pure, because animals are they're just perfect. And owls are fascinating, and who doesn't love owls? So why did you pick this? Who are you? You know, what do people see when they look you in the eye? We're going to try to get to all this and figure it out. But I've been doing, the first line is just like a snapshot of who you are. So let's start with that. The devil. It's not the first time we've seen the devil today. It's the second time. That's funny. I like that we get the devil and the fool, because these are similar. I mean, they're not similar. The fool to me is innocent, silly, lighthearted, unassuming. I mean, then you could, you know, they're also careless and quite possibly selfish, narcissistic. I mean, you could go on, but they're not mean. They're not awful. They're not, you know, whereas the devil really, there's really not much good you can say about the devil. There are certain strengths that the devil has that we could all take a little bit from, but yeah, but these are fun. And then the Page of Swords it's just a youthful energy. I think it's someone who wants to be a good communicator, who's making an effort to kind of be strong with their words, let good words turn into good actions. I think it's someone who's kind of trying to do the right thing and is making themselves more aware of that. That's what I get out of the Page of Swords. Just this interest in the world, this interest in people, but it's kind of like this budding curiosity to start to do things a little differently. But by different, I mean right. Okay, so for this top line, taking all that, a snapshot of you right now, I don't know, like you're equal parts, you're a little bit of everything. You are good and well-intentioned, but I do think you're selfish. I do think you're careless. I think you've probably been accused of being narcissistic. I think you are, I think you do have a sharp edge to you. I think you are someone that people, when they can trust, you're completely trustworthy. But then I do think you have moments where it's not that they can't trust you, it's just that you are more important because you're you, and maybe they can't rely on you in that moment. I definitely get a contrast. And again, this isn't bad. Everyone is like this to an extent, but this paints you a little bit more accurately. You know, if I looked at this, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're a narcissist. But I mean, what does that even mean? I'm not a psychologist, and this is just 3 cards. So if I say that I think you're a narcissist, it doesn't mean that I think you're like textbook. I think it means that what I mean by that is like you are, there's a little, I'm not even going to say darkness, there's just this little naughtiness to you. And that naughtiness is, I think it comes through as you being selfish, careless, and maybe not as cognizant of other people as you should be. But in walks the Page of Swords, which is you really trying to do the right thing. Trying, like you're really at a point in your life where you're like, I want to be better. I want to be nicer. I want to be more patient. I want to be more aware. And you just want that, just that interest in humans that maybe you lacked. Maybe you just weren't interested enough in other people's lives or their paths or their reasons for doing what they do or why they need help with this little favor they asked you. Like, it's just not, it was never interesting to you before. And it still might not be interesting. I mean, people's lives aren't very interesting. I mean, they're fascinating, but like each individual person, the stuff they do every day and like the little nuances, they're fascinating, but they're not interesting. Like, they're all the same. We're all the same at the end of the day. We like, you know, eat, sleep, shit, and we just do the things we need to do to survive. So the Page of Swords tells me though that you are trying to be better. And I think you're just trying to see people. You're trying to see things a little differently, and there's a curiosity to you that wasn't there before. Okay, next let's get another piece of you, because you are you're like my, you know, you're a best friend. You're fun, you're interesting, you're smart too. And you're selfish. And selfish people, I don't know, they're always more interesting somehow. Okay, we've got a nice little mix here too. Wheel of Fortune. So the Page of Cups. So there's definitely, and I like that we see the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords, because that does track for me. It makes me think again, like, you are trying to be this better person, and you're actively trying to do it. To be honest, I don't think you've been trying to do this for long, meaning like that you're not on this like 10-year long spiritual journey. I think you just recently, for whatever that's worth, decided like, hey, I'm going to start doing things differently, and with that I'm going to develop an interest in other people, and I'm going to try. And the Page of Cups tells me that you're just trying to communicate more, you're trying to understand people more, and you're just going down that path. And I like that for you, because you up here didn't make these efforts or take these steps to do this. And with the Page of Cups, I think I just think good things are happening for you. I think that you are starting to see a reward for doing these things. And we could take that to the Wheel of Fortune, which actually is a neat way of tracking that, because it makes me think like there is this karmic cycle that you are starting to realize, that the world does have a ever so slight what goes around comes around aspect to it. And whether you've tasted this or not, you really do want to start changing and kind of monitoring or mending some of the just doing things differently. Let's put it that way. I think in all the readings I've done before this, being 2, for the eyes, I've said, I've mentioned your moral compass, which I'm going to mention it again because I do think of it here in the Wheel of Fortune. So I always think of the moral compass in this, because it is karmic, it is what goes around comes around. It is understanding that you can be up here and then you can be down here. Like there are no givens. And the Wheel of Fortune, you can literally think of it as a wheel as you spin. Like anything can come up, anything can happen. There's this force that, let's say, turns this wheel, and you really have no control over it. So I think you're realizing that. I think I just got lost because I don't know if that made sense. And it's a balancing act. It is a juggling act. It is some parts fun, some parts crazy, some parts silly. But I do think the Fool and the Two of Pentacles kind of go together. There is this, again, this lighthearted, easy breeziness to it. We've got a few cards here where people seem to be like in mid-step. And I like that. I think you're someone who I think you're now constantly thinking about things. I think before you were constantly thinking about yourself and what pleased you and how you could do the things that please you. And now I think that you are really trying to, just not be that way anymore. I don't think you're trying to enter this deep spiritual realm where you become this like someone's guru, but I do think that you are getting better. The title of this is Pure. And I said pure because it's an owl, which I think is, animals are perfect to me. But they are pure. They are unflawed in a way. They don't have baggage. They don't have resentment. And I think that you probably want to be more like that. But let's get some more out of you. Okay. So let's do a line about either if you're in a relationship, your current relationship, or like your past relationship. What was a theme that is playing out or did play out? Oh, well, this is almost sweet. But I wonder if this is you. There was a theme, and I think the theme is, I think people fall for you. I think you are someone who, I don't know that you're charming, because honestly, I don't know that you put that much effort into it. But I think people like you. I think people want to win you over. I think they want to be the object of your affection, or maybe they almost have this like, you make people like want to compete with you for your own attention or affection or interest. And for whatever reason, I do think people find themselves wanting to commit to you. Maybe you're someone who has a hard time committing, and because of that, people always want to like be the one that makes you commit. But I do feel like I'm going to say people always try to drive your relationship. They try to kind of really steer the course and almost push the relationship agenda on you. And I think that I don't know if it terrifies you, but I think it really gives you pause. Let's put it that way. And there is, I know with the wands, there's a like foresight for the Three of Wands is a word we could give to it. And I don't know if you think you have this foresight that the relationship you're in, let's say everyone thus far, maybe currently, might not get you to where you want to go, might not be, you know, the vehicle that makes you really truly happy or less selfish, or, you know, takes you from being the page to the knight to the queen to the king of your thoughts and emotions. I just feel like whatever it is, you're not fully inspired either in the relationship you're in or in the past you haven't been. And if you are in a relationship and it's a good relationship, I don't want to just say that it's not the relationship for you, but I think that regardless, someone is really setting the pace of this relationship and pushing an agenda. But I think your agenda is really, it's you. It's always going to be you. You are a selfish person, not in a bad way. I don't mean that in a negative way. You are always going to be aware of what serves you the best, what you want, what you need. And quite frankly, when you're doing that, that's when you're your happiest. That's when you have the most to give. So I think that does suit you. The devil isn't someone I want to see you be. I don't want you to go back to being that selfish, that self-serving. But I do think that when you strike this balance of what you want, where your needs fall, I think you can be a great partner. But people push you almost too much to, you know, become the perfect lovers, the perfect couple, and it just makes you like really stop and be like, this is not, I see where this is going. I don't want this. This isn't the path I'm on. You want this, not me. And if I don't want something, then I'm not even gonna be a part of it. Okay, so let's take it back to the I and to pure. And now I'm wondering, you know, why did I say, I mean, I know why I said pure, I explained it, but like, why does pure come into this? I could say like, I don't think you're pure as in like you're pure goodness, or you're not like an animal where you're just, you know, animals are, you can't fault them. Like you can punish them or yell at them, I suppose, although you shouldn't punish them. But you can't really fault them. They're animals. They don't reason. They don't have deductive reasoning. You do. But I think you're pure in the sense that like, I think you are very easy to read in that like, you've probably told every partner you've been with, look, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I need. If you push me, if you coerce me or you try to get me to do something, even enough gentle nudging is going to make me stop and pause and be like, look, this isn't going to work. And I think there's a simplicity to that. There's a pureness to that. I think you deliver very pure messages like, this is what I need. This is what I want. I can't pretend otherwise. And the writing's on the wall if you're not going to do that. And I mean, that's like the owl. They're hunters. They're unapologetic. They are like sharpshooters. They have, fantastic eyesight. They go after what they want. They know what they want. And they are, they're self-serving creatures. They're amazing and they're spiritual. And I think they're they're amazing. I've like only seen a couple owls in my whole life. And if I was like walking down the street and I saw an owl, I'd be like amazed. I would never forget it, ever. I feel like sometimes I think I see owls and then I'm like, oh, that was a hawk. And hawks are amazing too, but they're not owls. Nothing against hawks, they're great too. But I think the owl's probably a narcissist, They remind me of that. And I am using the term narcissist very, very loosely and with like a smiley face at the end. Because that's the fool and the devil combined. That's like the fun-loving narcissist, the one that we're all friends with, the one we all have a little bit of inside of us. But you're trying. You really are trying. You are making conscious efforts. You are at a point where you realize there is a karmic outcome. At some point, we're gonna have to answer for our selfish ways, and yeah, you see that. And I don't think you're someone who steers people wrong in a relationship. I think you are quite upfront. I think you're working on your communication to be even more upfront. And it's almost like it's their fault for not listening or just not easing up on this push. However, I think you do get carried away and swept off your feet quite a bit in the beginning as well. But you do, I think you're a good communicator in a lot of ways, and you realize pretty quickly, like, hey, this isn't really gonna work. I'm sorry if I made you think I wanted to get married and move in together, but I don't. Sorry, that's not even funny if that's what happened. Okay, let's do a line about what they see in you. So whomever we're thinking of here, if they're looking you in the eye, like, what do they see? How do they see you? And I just, like, when I say see, I mean like peering into your soul. What are they seeing? And I feel like, oh, how funny that I just put those down face down. I feel like I feel like I see you. Like, I feel like you're a friend I have. Like, I like you. There's something fun and even funny about you. And I think that you're someone where if people get you, you'll really show them a really beautiful side of you. Like an owl. Like, owls will show us, we're obsessed with them because when we see them, we're like, oh my God, you are amazing. Like, you just, picked up that puppy practically, but like you're this beautiful creature. I see you, owl. And then this line is this, if this is how your partner or your future or your past partner sees you, then this is the perfect way to be seen. Even this card, it doesn't matter that it's not one of the perfect cards, because these two cards are lovely. The Empress is everything that is feminine and beautiful and like luscious and amazing about any person. Feminine energy resides in all of us, but she is just like ultimate feminine energy. She's earth, she's trees, she's wind, she's water, she's everything. But she's love and emotion and depth and all those beautiful things just swirling together. The sun, again, the sun is such a beautiful card. The Empress is bathed by the sun. She, oh my gosh, the sun is like, it's being adorned, it's success, it's vitality, it's youth, it's adornment, it's just such a positive, think of the sun, think of stepping into the sun and just like letting it shine on you. And even this card, you're like a naked little baby on a horse, which looks like a unicorn at first glance, but it's not. The sunflowers, which are, gosh, what does the sunflower signify? I feel like I've read this 100 times and I'm just thinking, I'm spacing on it right now. But I think the sunflowers are like an adornment, like a respect, like an acknowledgement. There's a word that I'm spacing on, but if this is how people see you, they see you as this bright, beautiful, shining star. And then this middle card here, which we're gonna call the Seven of Pentacles, is I feel like they also see you as somewhat self-serving and always investing in yourself, which I like. I like that about you. I love that you can be like worshipped and adored, and yet people are gonna also be like, but they're putting themselves first. And sorry, my cat just tried to play with me and bit me. Because that little selfish piece of you, it's in you, it runs through you, it's part of who you are. You are not a bad person, and you're not selfish in a way where you're utterly heartless or you're doing things that hurt people. I think there was a time, but no, that's not you anymore. So the fact, Mabel, that needs to stop. The fact that you are still a little bit of this to me, it makes you interesting. Sorry, I'm gonna have to pause this. when my cat wants my attention, she bites me, but she does it from under the table. It's terrifying. She's wild. She's like she's worse than an owl. Cats are the scariest things ever. So yes, you are being seen as just amazing, capable, bright, beautiful creature, and you're working on you. I mean, people know that you're not this and totally selfless. Like this is the card to remind people that you, as much as everyone likes you, they still know that like you're doing what's best for you. You are planting your seeds. You're watching your seeds grow. You're growing your garden. You're investing in you, and I really like that because it's still, you wouldn't have these cards come up if you weren't a good person, making strides, doing the right thing a lot of the times, and just making other people happy. You make other people happy, which again here is funny because people do want to be with you. You do make them happy. You make them feel good, and they love you for it. So there is that pureness to you, in that you don't hold anything back. People look at you and they see purely you. They know who you are. They don't have to wonder who you are. You're going to show them. You're going to tell them, and you're going to be honest. And I like that. There's a purity to it. And I do think that you are, I think you're beautiful. I think you're charismatic. I think you are good in a lot of ways. And I think whatever was deeply problematic about you, I don't see that anymore. It doesn't mean you can't still break hearts, so you have to be very cognizant and aware of that. But I think you are. I think you've probably hurt enough people and broken enough hearts that you really don't want to do that. That doesn't make you feel good. So yeah, I think when people look at you and they see you, if they see you this way, I think it's a great way to be seen. And I like you. I like you a lot, and I hope you like you. And I hope you just keep working to be the best person you can be. And I hope you enjoy doing that. Okay, that was it. Pure, thank you so much. I'm starting to ask people to leave comments because I think that's one of the things that helps people to see my videos. So yes, if you have something to say, by all means, please do. And thank you very much. Have a great day. This is Light and Bone Tarot. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, just for tuning in, even if it's just for a minute. Give it a chance. Let me know if you like it. Okay, so we have 4 pictures of eyes, and the last 3 readings I did were pretty interesting, and I always want these readings to have something to do with like romance, because I really like that aspect, but rarely do they. They always wind up talking about like you and your issues or your problems or what's going on in your life. But I've enjoyed this topic, and I just think eyes are fascinating. I mean, everyone does, I guess. We don't think about eyes though. It's like we have eyes. We see our own eyes every time we look in the mirror for the most part. We look at people in the face a lot, but I don't know, it's like I just don't think about eyes that much, but then when I do think about them, I'm like, oh yeah, eyes are weird. Like, and then I think back to like, in my head, snapshots I have of like looking at people in the eye, and I feel like for almost every friend I have, I can picture like looking them in the eye. Like I have a memory of like, oh, and then I looked them in the eye at the bottom of their stairs and said goodbye, or like something, you know, and then we cheersed and we looked each other in the eye. Like it's just this image I have for my friends, and I think that's a good thing. So if you picked clear, it is a little porcelain piece of art. I think it's like Turkey, maybe, that does this. I'm not sure exactly, but it makes me think of like Greece or Turkey, or like that part of maybe Europe, where they have this kind of belief, and whether it's like, I think it's probably like a spiritual belief that they have that goes along with this eye in this picture. So yes, whatever about this called to you, let's figure out why, and then clear what that could mean. So let's get a snapshot of you right now. Okay, and these are, we have seen this card once, but I'd say we haven't seen these other cards yet. I mean, this is heavy. This is definitely a heavy one. There's definitely a sorrow. There's a loss. There's a feeling of being lost in a way, confused, unseen. There's conflict, turmoil. This is definitely, if I pulled these cards and said, let's get a snapshot, and this snapshot would tell me like, oh, there's a heaviness to you right now. You might feel somewhat isolated, alone, confused. This might lead you to feel like there's just a bunch of friction. This card isn't bad to me. It's almost a card of like action and passion. It makes me think of conversation. It makes me think of like scuffles, but not fights. Like I don't think of like hardcore offending someone or saying deeply hurtful things or actually fighting. It's just a sense of like tension, but it could be in a good way. It could be there to like build up to something that needs to be talked about or addressed. But these cards are definitely, they're heavy. They're sad cards in a way. They're not cards you pull if you were like, everything's going great, I'm so happy, it's the best my life's ever been. I think there's always a place for this card. That's not always, but there's really a place for it here. But I think wherever you are right now, it is starting to affect other people and people around you. Either you're getting short with them, you're starting to get in more very minor altercations. I don't necessarily mean physical, just verbally, and maybe ever so lightly physical, like maybe your mannerisms and your way of conducting and carrying yourself has changed, where you're just more defensive, like in your stature or posture. I do think that this is weighing quite heavily on you, and this could turn into more struggle than just this. But whatever happened here, whatever's going on with you to make you feel sad, turned away, isolated, I am sorry, because it doesn't look like it's been a good time. But we don't know. This could have been when you were younger, 5 years ago. Two of our readings were the first line where there's a vibe that I got that it happened almost like in childhood, like there was something that you were carrying with you, from a very long time ago. So who knows when, but let's do another line here to get an idea of where you're at right now. And so I do think you're recovering from something. I think there's a period of recovery. I think you were either sick or you were helping someone who was sick. Maybe you lost someone who was sick. Maybe there's something to tell me that you have been sitting with a certain pain. And it does make me feel like quite possibly you lost someone who was close to you, maybe a family member, or someone you really cared for, like family, to an illness. Just a thought, not, I hope that doesn't track for everyone watching this, and I, in some ways I hope that doesn't track at all, but there is something to tell me that whatever it is, you've been in a state of being restful, you've rested, and I do think you're coming out of it. I really do think you're coming out of it. I think this is the past, so your current now is coming out of this state. You're just now sitting with it, feeling it, positively resting. I don't think you're sleeping way too much. I don't think you're, but I do think there are some questions. I think you still feel like you're possibly on an island. You have some things you need to figure out, and you definitely, you do have to figure these out. You have decisions to make, and you have some questions. Probably questions that are close to your heart. They're a big deal. But I think that you have this passion welling up inside of you, and this would be your Ace of Swords. This is the part of you right now that is like, I want that clarity. I want that positive next step. I want to leave all this other nonsense behind. And look at all the swords. These are 3 swords. And to finish with the Ace of Swords, it just tells me that wherever you are right now, all the pain, all the struggle, all the loss, all the darkness, all the stillness, all the things that come along with aspects of agony or depression. I feel like you're so done with it. And I do feel like you're someone who is very much, you are a thinker, you are a deep thinker, you think your way out of things, you think your way through things, but I also think you feel quite a bit. But you rationalize with your thoughts. I think you're emotional. I think you can be prone to heavy emotion and to feel things extremely, but I think your thoughts always kind of propel this. So if you were at a point where you're ready to heal, we would see the Ace of Swords card for you, because it would say like, this is you just finally ready to like just think about things differently, approach things differently, think new thoughts. And I think with the rest, with the time, with the sorrow, I think you're finally feeling things. And with the questions that you've been asking yourself, I think you're seeing things differently. And I think that's very good and exciting. And this is positive. I mean, we could take all this other stuff. All these cards are heavy and dark, but you are in a good place right now. Whatever it is you've been through and however long that lasted, you are in a good place. And let's just get one more line about how you see you, because I do think you're in a good place. So let's see how you see you. Third time the Devil cards come up today. I just had to call that out. I don't know what it is about the eyes and the Devil, but somehow. Okay, so how you see you. I'm going to switch this up. I do think you're hard on yourself. I really think you're hard on yourself. I don't know if you have regret or you're punishing yourself for something, but you are definitely, you are very hard on yourself, and quite possibly too hard. Quite possibly you've punished yourself like the punishment doesn't fit the crime kind of thing. And I'm not sure what that's all about, and that's not what this reading is about, but yes, if this is how you see you, you really need to lighten up on yourself. Even if we're not perfect, so even if you aren't perfect, which you're not, because none of us are, you need to really let that go. And the Star, this is the card that tells me you have let it go, because like I said, you are in a good place right now. We all have elements of seeing ourselves as the Devil. We all have we're all critical, and if we're not, then we're just raging narcissists. So yes, this is very normal. I think you deal with it more than others, but very normal. And then for the Star, I do think that you are tapping into an element of like spirituality, kind of like an inner guidance, inner direction. I think you're kind of like sampling different things that can really help like channel your thoughts and your energies. And again, Ace of Swords, I think you're consciously making an effort to think about things differently, approach things differently, and just step out of whatever this was. And then underneath that, we have the Ace of Cups, and I'm very happy to see this as well, because not only are you thinking about things differently, you're feeling things differently. You're allowing yourself to feel things, because this is the only other Cups card, and this is heavy. You were feeling loss and sorrow. Those are the only words right now that come to mind. And I mean, other words could, but those keep trumping any other negative emotions. And you are so totally stepping away from this. You have stepped away from this. I don't even want to bring it back up, because it's not you anymore, but it is absolutely a part of your past. It's absolutely there. And it is real. And I mean, eyes are, there are, I'm sure, people who know you and love you, they look at you and they feel it, they know it, they see it, they feel it, they get it. So let's do a line about what people, and I'm just going to say, if there's a relationship or a romantic partner, I'm going to say that, but it's really someone that you care about, people you care about. How do they see you? How do they see you? And this should make you feel good, because it's deep, but it's fun. The Queen of Swords is, we have a lot of swords here. The Queen of Swords is someone who is in command of their thoughts, which in turn I think makes them in command of their actions and their feelings, because a lot of it starts with your thoughts. Your thoughts are the very beginning. They're the first step. that's how we manifest. That's how we create our intentions. We create these mantras, these self-fulfilling prophecies. This all comes with our thoughts and how we manage our thoughts. So if you're the Queen of Swords, you're doing something right. You're good at this. You're astute. You're honest. You're fair. You're calculating. You're smart. You are in control. And you're aware. You're aware of yourself and people around you. But yeah, the queen on this throne she's a lot of good things. Like, I know that she's, there's also like a sensual element to her, which is, and I always want to use the word sensual and I don't, because it's a funny word to say, like, and I almost feel like some people might hear it and be like, ugh, ick, like that's not what I was thinking right now. But I've defined another word for sensual that isn't so like, it makes people think of sex, because you could, I mean, that would absolutely be a way to think about it when I say it, but like, I just mean there's like this feminine draw, like you have this part of you that like magnetically pulls people in, but in a feminine way. And you can still be a man watching this, that there's that feminine piece that's like, it's that piece that people just want to like they just want to touch you. Like if you're sitting down with someone having a drink or eating a meal, it's like they just feel the desire to like just touch your arm when they're talking to you. And it's that draw, something in you pulls people in, and I get that from the Queen of Swords. And yes, I think that is it's a really nice quality to have. There's like an alluring aspect to you. And you know, she's beautiful. Like she's dressed to the nines. She's got this like stately, gorgeous throne. She's solid, she's mature, she knows herself. So if this is how people see you, that's great. But then we get to throw in, I can't help it, but the Knight of Wands to me is and always will be the fuckboy card. I didn't make that up, but I can't get past it, and it's that hasty, that fun, that that careless, that reckless, but also again that person that like people want to hang out with, they want to talk to, they want to have a drink with this person, they want to like know how this person's night went. Like this person's just, they're interesting, they're intriguing, they're charismatic. It's charisma, it's just sheer charisma, and it's taking advantage of that sheer charisma too, which is also pulls people in, which allures them to you and draws them to you, and it's this whole vicious, beautiful cycle that we get tangled up in. So if someone sees you as the Knight of Wands, as long as they see you also as like a good, balanced person, that's just saying that you're charisma, you're fun, you're exciting. Like you are just, you are a very exciting person. And then there's this, and you've got thought. You know, you feel things, you see things. You're not silly. You know, I mean, you're real. You know yourself. You're trying to know yourself. You're contemplating things. So yeah, as reckless as this person isn't. And I really I like the contradictions that are set up here. Sorry, this is about my cat. That are set up here because it makes you interesting, it makes you sexy, it makes you appealing. And if this is how you're seen, then great. Because you're all over the board, but in a very interesting way. And the thing I like about this is, this reminds me of this last line, which is good. But this is heavy. This is sad up here. I'm not getting anything in here. There's nothing up here to tell me that you're charismatic or that you draw people in or that you even want to draw people in. This is a very dark set of cards. But then we get more into this where it's like, you know, the Devil and the Star and the Ace of Cups. It further speaks. You see yourself. People see you how very similar to the way you see you, only they freaking dig it about you. Like they dig that you are equal parts devil and light. But you aren't half devil. You are just, you know, there's something to you. And if we look at this for the clear and this I'm really trying to think what this would mean. And sometimes it takes me a minute. I think we could almost say there's a clarity to you. And I think that clarity it is an aspect of you knowing yourself. It is a little bit of what you've been through. It is to say that like you there's a sadness there. I'm not saying you feel it every day. In fact, I don't know that you do, but it is there. It is a part of your past. And I do think that it actually can make things, it can muddy waters for you. It can make things complicated. It can come up and like opaque things, which is actually the opposite of clear. And it's funny because that picture is not clear. It is an opaque piece of glass, essentially. So why I gave it the word clear, I'm not sure. But I do think there is a clarity to you. I think people see you a certain way, and it is very similar to how you see yourself. And I think you kind of remain true to who you are. I don't think you're trying to be someone you're not. And I think that's an interesting thing here, because there's nothing like you're working on yourself. You have abandoned this painful past and you're working on yourself, but you aren't trying to change yourself. You are trying to work on yourself and see things better and be as happy as you possibly can. But you aren't like, oh, I'm damaged, or I'm bad, or I don't like this about myself, so I'm going to change it. You are more from the camp of like, I've seen sadness. I don't want that to define me. I know that I can be happy, and so here I go. And once you get into that vibe of knowing that you can be happy, you really come into your own. And when you come into your own, you're fine. You're interesting. You're a great time. And I think to whomever you're in a relationship with, I think they find you really just dead sexy and very, very appealing. Yeah, and I wanted to another line here. I'm just trying to think what question I would ask. Because like clear. Okay, so clarity. Let's give you some clarity. Let's stick with that. Let's help you just get some clarity about yourself, about, I don't know, this path you're on. Let's just ask for some clarity for you. And we'll see what comes up here. I'm not doing reversals. So if I play it just the way it came out, yes, hardship, struggle. 5 of Swords is kind of an icky card in that it makes me think of like, it makes me think of things like someone's defeated, or someone didn't play fair, someone fought dirty, someone, I don't know, just someone did someone dirty. And quite frankly, as a result of that, people were hurt, people were left in the cold, people were swindled, more heaviness, right? This is a beautiful card. This is friendship. This is rejoicing. This is unity. This is like, there's an intimacy here. There's a bit of friendship, and meaning that you're good. You're in a good place. Your friends love you, and you love them in turn. You celebrate with them. And this, if you've got this, then you've got positive relationships, and that can mean anything. That can be romantic. That can be like, it's just a very, very positive card. So if we ask for some clarity about you, I'm going to say that yes, within you exist whatever past these 2 cards made of, but this is you now, just as we had heaviness here, and this is you now, and this is you now, and this is you now. We're going to say this last card is you now, and it is beautiful, it is positive, it is, it's just a very happy, rejoiceful card, and there's celebration and unity and just all things beautiful there. But yes, there is anyone who wants to get to know you and understand you and see you clearly is going to have to understand, is going to have to be allowed by you to see whatever piece this is, whatever happened, whatever that piece is. And I give very specific examples that I know they're not going to talk to everyone. And again, I hope they don't talk to everyone. But if it isn't exactly what I said, then similar to, I think you can paint a picture of a heaviness. But this is, these readings are unique. Like no one else got a reading quite like this. And the thing I do like about this reading is I love who you are. I love how people see you. And I really do love that we ended here, because if people want that clarity from you, that clearness, whereas the picture is opaque but the title is clear, so there are contradictions. If they want to know how to see through you, how to see you, they're going to have to see all of you and your history, and you're going to have to share that with them. You're going to have to be the Queen of Swords and let them in, and you're going to have to be vulnerable with your emotions. And but knowing you will do it in a playful, fun way. I mean, you might just, I don't know, I was going to say something and it was just silly and stupid, and I sometimes feel like I say things that are so extreme that I can lose one of my 4 listeners just by saying the wrong thing at this point. But I like this for you, and I like the clarity, and I thank you so much for listening, and I hope you come back. Thank you so much, and have a great night. Brown, we did 4 readings on eyes and the captions I gave them. I found them interesting. I still find eyes interesting. I find everyone's past interesting, the struggle, the pain, everyone has a past. We all have pain, and the term, it's all relative. I'm really reminded from time to time of just how accurate that is, because everything we go through is relative. It's relative to us. You can be fabulously wealthy and still have pain that might not look like someone else's pain, but to you it is. And where I'm going with this, I'm not sure, but where I'm going with it is, if you just watch these readings, each one had an element of some kind of struggle that was brought about at some point in their life. And I don't know, I guess the eyes are all knowing. They've been with us our whole lives. It's not like we shut our eyes every 24 hours or 20 days. I mean, they've seen everything. They're all knowing, they're all seeing. People see us sometimes better than we see us. They look at our eyes more than we look at our eyes. There's all sorts of stuff to this, but I'm definitely rambling, and I will stop now, but I just really want to thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the readings, and I hope you tune in for more. And please leave comments, and I guess at some point I have to ask people to subscribe as well. So yes, please do any of that if you feel like it, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. Bye.